I want to welcome you to week 2 of my comp lab and Facebook reading. I want to cover a number of things this week. Okay, first of all, we're going to finish up wrapping up working theses, what they are, what they mean. Some of you did have some questions on Facebook about the thesis. Outlining and organizing main points. We're going to be taking a look at our quick access book. I'm going to start talking about the basic outline of an essay. Okay, essays require an outline in this class, except for your narration. Okay, and there's a reason why we use outlines in English composition, and I'll go over that in a minute. We'll talk about openings, body paragraphs. We're going to talk about conclusions, what to avoid, what to do. We'll talk about composing narratives, because your first essay is going to be coming up very soon. We're also going to talk about Mary Carr's Dysfunctional Nation, which is a very humorous story that I think you will enjoy. So first let's talk about working thesis. What is a working thesis? A working thesis is the thesis that you have decided on to use in your essay. Why is this important? Well, because many people think that any thesis or any statement, any summary of their particular essay will do. It's not quite like that. A thesis is like an opinion. It states your position on something. But it's more than just an opinion, okay? It's something that you can document evidence with. Okay, now I like to use the example of texting while driving. A lot of people have been arguing for a position in essays that texting while driving should be banned. Now we have a ban here in Massachusetts. However, unintended consequences are that has opened up the floodgates for a host of other laws that could restrict what you do while driving. There's no more cell phone use in some states. I know New Jersey does not have a lot of cell phones while driving. Other states are considering a walking while using a headphones law. You can't do that. It's eventually going to come down to the point where you could get pulled over for drinking coffee. I mean, I'm not kidding. It's getting ridiculous. Okay, and part of arguing for a position, part of explaining yourself, is taking a stand on an issue with your thesis and arguing for that position. Hey, if we continue to ban stuff, pretty soon we won't be allowed to have radios in our car anymore. Okay. Don't think that a thesis is strictly for an argumentative essay. It's not like that at all. A thesis could be a statement like, for myself, because I was born deaf, or at least was diagnosed with a hearing loss at the age of 7, that has impacted my life XYZ. It's a simple statement that shows what you're going to be writing about. Okay? If you have any more questions on this, you may always email me, post it on Facebook so that way everybody can see it. Because if you're thinking of a question and you're not quite sure if it's a stupid question, maybe other people have had that same question too. Okay? I want to move on here. Outlining and organizing main points. I read a lot of essays throughout the course of a semester. I'm not going to give you a statistic on how many that I find do not really have the correct organization. They're not really organized in a sense that it's easy to follow. Okay, so join with me on page 48, and we're going to be talking about outlining and organizing our main points, so that way when we write them down, they're not all over the place. Okay, page 48 in quick access says, an outline is a structured sequential list of the contents of a text. Some writers always use outlines. I always do. Even in my novels, I will outline a chapter. And sometimes I will find that the outline for that chapter was it was too long for the chapter, and I'll move it on to the next one. But it keeps things organized, while others never do. I want to stop there for 1 minute. I've read essays where the person has said, I don't need an outline. I have read their paper and it's been like, whoa, yeah, you should have used an outline. Be careful. Some instructors require an outline with an assignment, others don't. For essay 1, you will not need an outline. Okay? For essays 2 and 3, you will. You need to experiment with what works best for you personally, as well as remain aware of what your instructor calls for. I remember my first English composition class at Bunker Hill Community College, and when my teacher, Professor Colella, actually went over something like this, outlining. And I use that to this day, not just for essays and stuff, but it has also created a to-do list idea that I use to organize my day. Whatever works for you. In some situations, writers like to outline before they write in order to flesh out, pull together, and arrange material before drafting. We'll get into drafting later. This is kind of like free writing, which we were doing last week in week 1. Okay, we were free writing, pulling ideas together. Okay, an informal outline does not follow any of the numbering and lettering conventions of a formal outline. The problem with informal outlines is that if you go by them, sometimes they can get confusing. They can go all over the place. What I like to use, and I would like to see for essays 2 and 3, if you have another system that works, and I mean works, and I can see that it's working, go ahead, I'll let you use it. However, what I like to see, what I use best, is a traditional formal outline that you can see on page 49 here. You can see you have 1, your first main idea. A, first subordinate idea, or your first main idea if you want to talk about it. That, and have your number 1 as your introduction or so. First reason or example, second reason or example, first supporting detail, second supporting detail. You can see how that works. Now, I'm going to give you guys a hint. If you do this as detailed as you possibly can, your essays will practically write themselves. And I'm not kidding. Okay, if you can include all the details in your outline, all you got to do is go and just start typing, and it will come along. It will come along quickly too. Now this week you do have an assignment that deals with outlining. A lot of students misinterpret it, they get confused over it. I'm looking for something that follows the example that my comp lab gives you. My comp lab gives you an example of why students should, or high school students should not, or should not serve in the military. And it asks you, what do you think? Okay, don't just copy the example that's listed there, come up with your own ideas. But that is the format that I want to see for that particular assignment, okay? And I expect you to do it in that way. Okay, it's important that you learn this stuff. You're going to be taking this with you for Comp 2. Okay, everything that I'm doing here is leading up to Composition 2. A real basic outline consists of really 3 or 4, solid concepts that you really need to include in there. Okay, I'm not going to give you a formula necessarily that applies to every specific situation, because there is no real formula that applies for every specific situation. It depends on what the topic you're writing about. It depends on how familiar you are with the topic. Okay? And it depends on just what the subject is about. Okay? If it's a happy topic, you could start off with an engaging opening that includes, a happy ending story. If it's a really sad topic, such as texting while driving, your engaging opening might deal with yourself, putting yourself in the driver's seat, driving down the street, and coming head on with a driver that's texting while driving. Okay? Your engaging opening begins your essay in such a way that it hooks your reader in. You may start with a personal narrative, your own experience with the topic. You can show some surprising statistics about the topic. Okay? Ask the readers a question. They'll answer. They really will. Okay? You might, actually, I read a doctoral dissertation yesterday. We were critiquing chapter 1 of our dissertation. If you don't know what a dissertation is, it's about a 200-page long essay that requires research, and it requires posting results and stuff like that. My topic is actually on incorporating Facebook into the classroom, online and in the regular classroom. And I want to let you guys know now, I will be using the data. I will not be using names, but I will be using the data from Facebook in my dissertation. If you don't want to be included in that, let me know. It won't happen. Back to this. I'm sorry, I'm digressing. But anyway, this one for my dissertation I was reading started off with bullying. It was on the topic of bullying in the workplace. And it started off with a question. Imagine yourself going to work every day, dreading every second that you're driving to work. Imagine cowering in your cubicle for lunch every single day. These questions really make your readers think. They're a very effective way of hooking your reader in. Okay? Body paragraphs. Now you got your reader hooked in your essay. What are you going to do with them? You can either put them to sleep, make him walk away, make him hate you, or make him just so disinterested that he takes your essay and just throws it out. Okay? Obviously, I don't have a choice on the last part. I have to read your essay. But still, you've got your reader involved in your essay. You've asked them some questions. Now you expect some follow-up. to those questions, okay? And that's what these body paragraphs are all about. If I'm going to talk about texting while driving, I may give some examples, or I might give some reasons why texting while driving is dangerous. First off, it's dangerous to the driver. They're distracted. They could get killed while driving, okay? I may give some examples of that, okay? And I may give some statistics from other, journals and all kinds of things to back that up. Don't get ahead of that, though, because we'll be going over details and building your essays with evidence a little bit later. Your second main point might be danger to other drivers, okay? Driver's driving down the road, he sees your car coming towards him. He doesn't know what you're going to do. He hopes you're going to drive past him and that'll be the end of it. But what if all of a sudden he starts swerving because he's texting on his phone? It's dangerous to other people. And you might give some examples of that. In fact, there is a case now, I think it's in Massachusetts, where somebody is actually, they're working on a conviction for homicide due to texting while driving. It will be pretty ground shaking if it actually does pass. Conclusions are on actually page 40 in your quick access book. Things to avoid. I hate this ending. In conclusion, I have proven, you haven't proven anything, trust me. In conclusion, I don't like in conclusion. I can tell it's the last paragraph of your essay. It better be the conclusion. If it's the introduction, I'll kill you. Okay? You want to avoid, well, I kind of think I've shown, what is that? It doesn't mean anything. Okay? You want to keep your essays nice and solid throughout. Alright? So those are some things to avoid. You want to use maybe another strategy. Give some more examples. Not the same ones that you used in the beginning. Okay? You may allude to them, but don't use the same ones. Things to do. Project into the future is probably the easiest way to finish up, wrapping up your topic. Okay? It is the easiest way to do it because you can say, well, in the future we are likely to not be allowed to drink coffee behind the wheel if, things continue. That is not as far-fetched as people might think. Okay? You might propose a solution to it that does not involve banning texting while driving. I know there are some phones and some GPSs, I know I have one that's aggravating, but it makes sense, that will not allow you to input or touch the screen or do anything if the car is in motion. Okay? So those are some ideas on things to do. Now obviously your book has more information than I've just given you. I'm just trying to basically give you some pointers. Alright, page 70 for the conclusions, page 62 for your body paragraphs, and page 59 for your engaging opening. Alright? Now this pretty much covers how you're going to be writing your essays, okay? Obviously the only way you're going to get better at writing is through practice, okay? I've been there. I've been writing for many, many years. But in the beginning, when I first started writing novels and short stories, I was terrible. I was horrible. I really was. My stories were just not developed. I would focus on details in one area but not the next. It was just very, very uneven. That's what drafts are for. The only way you're going to become a better writer is by writing. Okay. Composing narratives. You're going to be doing this actually for your first paper. It's the actual assignment is pick a key event in your life, a turning point, if you will, and write about how it changed you. Okay. What happened? Tell me about it. What happened? Use a lot of details there. Okay. I've had students write to me about watching a friend get killed in a car accident, being raped, being molested, being all kinds of things. I've seen it all. So please do not, if you have a really earth-shattering turning point, trust me, writing is therapeutic. And I want to emphasize, this will not go on Facebook. We will not be showing other people this particular work. Maybe we might be doing something with Facebook when we're discussing essays 2 and 3, but not essay 1. It's too personal for a lot of people. And I find that if it's not personal enough, they may not share. Okay? But composing narratives is your first assignment, your first major essay assignment. Okay? That turning point. What happened? What happened as a result of it? What did you learn? Okay? Hopefully you learned something. 2, what would have happened if this event hadn't happened to you? Okay? If I hadn't been born deaf, I actually do think about this sometimes. If I hadn't been born deaf, I probably would have been more accepted by my peers. I might have wound up becoming a jock or something like that. Maybe not, I was too small. But my point is, it's something to think about. This is what we call critical thinking. Okay, it's also called alternative thinking. What would have been the alternative? Okay, and mind you, people say, well, if only I'd done this, my life would be better. Not necessarily. People like to think that their life would be better than where they are now. That's not always the case. All right. Dysfunctional Nation. I want to see some posts on this pretty soon. Please, I'm begging you. Dysfunctional Nation is only 2 or 3 pages long. By Mary Carr. It's quite funny. We're going to be talking about the thesis statements. We're going to be talking about some of the ideas that Mary Carr does propose in her essay. It's actually quite amusing. Maybe you can relate to this. Maybe thinking about this particular essay will help you write your narrative, which is why we have this particular essay at this point in the class. Okay. As always, if you have any questions, comments, rants, raves, you may email me. If it's a really tricky question, maybe you want to post it to Facebook asking it, because maybe other students might be asking the same questions, okay? So, for now, I will see you on Facebook. Take care.